We got a question from Georgia in Montreal.
Or was it Montreal and Georgia?
I had it right the first time.
All right, let's do it.
After listening to the nostalgia episode, I took a long, hard look at the hoard of baby clothes and other baby items that no longer fit or add value to my son's life, but that I was holding on to for a possible future child. This process forced me to really set my intentions and priorities for the next few years, and it shifted my perspective in many ways. To be honest, though, I do sometimes have feelings of loss or other difficult emotions when having to make decisions. And whenever I let go of things, even though it can feel good, I sometimes feel this loss. So how do you deal with or tolerate the emotional journey that minimalism can take you on, even when there's joy with, let's say, for example, keeping just a few select items that trigger the happy feelings? How do you deal with the ambivalent feelings when letting go of other stuff?
All right, Ryan. So the word ambivalent here, I would use a different word. So I'm ambivalent about ambivalence.
Right.
So if you're ambivalent toward an item, I tend to let it go, because if I'm ambivalent, it's like, why do I want to hold on to this thing?
Right. Yeah, just to be clear, ambivalence for me, it means like basically having not a feeling one way or the other. A feeling that's not one way or the other. It is in between. Either pain or pleasure. It's nothing.
So I think maybe what Georgia's saying is ambivalence or worse. Like if you feel ambivalence, or you feel a negative feeling, which clearly she does with some of these. She has these hoards of baby clothes and other baby items that she's talking about, and she's holding on to them just in case she has another kid in the future. Right? She's not really sure. It's not like she's pregnant right now and she knows there's another kid. At least that wasn't clear from her message. So she also mentioned that triggers, and she has these holding on to some items that trigger these positive memories. And I just want to say, yes, congratulations, because the memories aren't in the things, the memories are in us. And sometimes, though, those things can trigger the memories that are inside us. So by holding on to a few items, having fewer things, we can actually use those to trigger those good feelings in us. However, by watering it down with tens of thousands of old baby items just sitting around in boxes and bins, those aren't really triggers for old memories. Those are just weights that are holding you back.
Yeah, it sounded like they were just in case items for her. Rather than
just for when.
Right. So no, I mean, so that to me, that is, earlier when I talked about how this podcast could be called Boundaries, like for someone like Georgia, she has to be able to create these boundaries. So when it comes to just in case, of course, we have the 2020 just in case rule. We've got the 90-90 rule. Right. There are different rules that you and I have set up for ourselves to help us not hold on to these things. So with Georgia, I mean, the first thing I thought of was, well, she's not sure she's going to have a kid or not. So what are the rules that she has for herself in keeping these baby clothes?
Yeah.
So, having the rule of just throwing them out or just donating them, I should say, I guess that's okay. That doesn't seem very deliberate to me if she's still questioning whether or not she's going to have a kid in the next year or so.
Yeah.
And then holding on to everything just in case, that also doesn't seem like the best solution. There's something in the middle there, and really, like, Georgia's going to have to figure out what that middle is for her.
Yeah, and so asking yourself, what is your outcome here? Because if you do plan to have another kid, then the question is when, right?
Yes.
So if you're saying, I'm going to have a kid in 2 years, okay, great. Then the next question is, what are the items that you want to hold on to for that kid? Because clearly you don't want to hold on to all of these things, most likely. You've learned some lessons from the first kid. You always do. Right. I know I've learned a whole lot of lessons from having Ella. She just turned 5 recently. We took her down to Disneyland, posted that crazy picture of her on the that
was so good on stories.
Oh my god.
It was just good.
I had to re-download Instagram to post it, and it was just this zoom in. You can actually find it on my Instagram stories right now. I put it on.
Is it still on there?
Well, they what are those things called?
Dude, I don't. Yeah.
At the top, the Instagram stories tabs. You have these different tabs. The moments they're called.
Oh, and so it's like it's under the moments.
Yeah, it's under the family.
Did not even know that existed.
Yeah, it's under the family moment on my my Instagram stories. I'm just at Joshua Fields Milburn. If you want to see the most,
so good.
It's the best family picture we've ever taken, and it is pure. It's remember Leo Babalta's term, joy fear.
Yeah,
that is. She personified the expression of joy fear, especially when you zoom in on her face. It was the precipice of total terror and also utter and complete joy at the same moment.
When I saw that picture when we came off the ride, I was like, oh my God, like she's never going to trust us again. But like, because she looks so scared.
Right.
But dude, she was like, can we ride that again?
Yeah, and I go,
can we do that one again?
Sweetheart, that line is 2 hours long. I don't care. Let's ride it again.
Yeah.
She loved it. It was like what's it called, Splash Mountain. It's a log flume ride, and
yeah.
It was just scary enough that she loved it. Anyway, I've learned a whole lot of lessons through my 5 years with her. Well, when I met Bex, Ella was 1, so 3.5 years with her, and I've learned a lot of lessons. So if we ever had another kid in the future, which we likely won't, but if we had a second kid, there were certainly things I learned from this crash test dummy named Ella that we will carry forward, right? No, I and the truth is, like, I learned really, Ella wasn't the crash test dummy. I was the crash test dummy for parenting, right? Like, I'm learning how to become a better parent. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done, and especially for me with my personality, and so I've learned a lot, and I know that if I had a second kid, carrying that forward, there are some things, literal things, physical things I'd get rid of, and also different experiences I bring in more of and bring in less. And so, what are the things you're gonna hold on to? And then, of course, if 2 years from now you're like, okay, I've decided I'm not going to get pregnant, then you give yourself full permission. There's a drop dead date on these items. There's an expiration date for these items, right? And you want to give yourself permission to let go of those. So maybe that, instead of having the 90-90 rule, it's the 1 year rule. And if you're not pregnant in a year, then you decide, you know what, I'm not getting value from these things anymore. Someone else could get value from them, so I better let them go so someone else can. And that, Ryan, goes back to your point, differentiating the just-in-case items, which don't hold on to them if they're just in case. Hold on to them if they're just for when, and you can honestly say you know when you're going to use them. Right now, Georgia's somewhere right in between. And so you need to set up a rule for yourself that says, at this point, they're no longer a just for when item. This is when they become just in case. And when it's a just in case item, I'm getting it the hell out of here.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, like, when it comes to just in case items, there's always going to be a reason to hold on it. I mean, hoarders, like the true sense of the word hoarder, you walk into someone's home, you can't see their floor. They've got newspapers stacked everywhere. They are holding on to those newspapers just in case.
Yes.
Now, most people, they're not going to have stacks of newspapers.
Right.
They're going to let them go for one reason or the other. I would encourage, people to look at that reason and see if they can apply it to other areas of their life.
What a great point.
And see if it makes sense. But, listening to George's question, two things came to mind. And I'm not trying to make this black or white, but I feel like one or two things are happening here with Georgia. Either A, she is holding on to stuff just in case, or maybe when she let it go. I couldn't really tell by the question. Did she let it go, or was
that's how I.
Okay, so let's say she does let it go, and she experiences regret a year from now, and she's like, "Oh man, like I really, really should not have let that stuff go, and here are the reasons why." Then that's okay. Like, it's, again, there is no perfect minimalist. You might get rid of something that you wish you would have hung on to, but learn from that lesson. Don't continue to just throw everything away to only experience that same regret every single time. I wish I had a sexy answer when people are like, "Hey guys, what's one thing you got rid of that you really feel a lot of regret with?" And like, I don't have a sexy answer for that, but I'm sure there are people out there who have went down this road and they do feel regret of getting rid of something. Like, really look at that regret and ask, like, how could have I avoided that, and here's why I needed to avoid that. The other thing that I think might be going on is Georgia might just have she might have had these tendencies to hold on to stuff from the beginning of life. I mean, I have had mentoring students who they're like, I got rid of this one thing, and it's really, really driving me crazy. I don't know why it's driving me crazy, but it's really, it weighs on me. And when I think about it, I'm a little upset that I let it go. And a lot of the times I'll dig, kind of deep into that. And what I find out is that these are feelings that they've had ever since they were a kid. They were, collected rocks, they collected sticks, then they got rid of their stick pile and they felt bad about letting it go. My point is that there are these emotions that we are born with sometimes that emotionally make sense because we feel them,
right,
but logically they don't make sense.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very important thing to recognize, essentially. Like, I think about my I'm very prone to getting angry really easily. And I used to think that I was justified, and especially in my relationships. As soon as I get offended, as soon as I get jealous, as soon as I get insecure, and then I would, I get angry and I would voice my angry feeling, and I felt completely justified in doing that. Well, once I realized that me acting on that is actually ruining relationships, I had to really question whether or not those emotions, whether they logically made sense for me to have.
Yeah, you could be right or you can be in love. You can't be both.
Right, exactly, man. So when I look at like me getting angry really easily, I know that when I have this anger, this feeling of, anger shoot through me, I've got to be able to look at that and say, okay, Ryan, I know you feel this way.
Yeah.
But really, like, how would the best version of yourself react in this situation? So I have tools to help calm me down, whether it's taking a deep breath or a couple deep breaths, or whether it's like rephrasing the way something was positioned to me, whatever it might be. I have different tools to help me deal with this emotion. What I'm getting at is that it's important for me to recognize that this emotion that I have is not valid.
Yeah.
It is not adding any value. It is, by and large, it's not adding any value. So I'm just trying to relate here with Georgia, where she's got to be able to look at this feeling, that this hoarding feeling that she has, and she's got to look at that and say, is this valid? If it isn't, then she has to find ways to kind of tell that hoarding mentality, or that, just in case mentality, to kind of sit on the back burner. Yes, I understand that I feel that way, but logically I'm not going to sit here and have a storage locker full of baby clothes. I have to find the in between. And she might get rid of the baby clothes, and she still might feel a little bit of a loss. She still might feel a little bit of regret. But to me, what really is important is whether or not that regret is valid or not.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and so you're bringing up a couple things that I want to talk about. One is, I don't think the fear of potential regret. So if the fear of potential regret is not a good reason to not let go.
Absolutely.
And because one, you don't know whether or not, if that's the only reason you're holding on to something is because you might regret it in some hypothetical future, then it's probably not adding value to your life. And it's likely not going to add value to your life, right? Now, you're also talking about emotions and feelings, and I've always equated those two as being synonymous. But I went to a Sam Harris event recently. Oh man, he was there with an author, Antonio D'Agostino, I believe. Anyway, I'm messing with the name, but he has a new book out that delineates the difference between emotion and feeling. A feeling is something that we experience internally. An emotion is something that we react on, either consciously or unconsciously. An emotion, the feeling could be fear. The emotion is that we the heart starts beating quickly, and we start getting the sweaty palms.
Interesting.
And so there is this differentiation between the two. And so what she might be feeling are these emotions because it's making her feel a particular way. The sense of urgency of, I can't let go because I'm going to need this, so I'm going to hold on, because otherwise I feel this anxious emotion. Anxiety can be an emotion, and the feeling is, like you said, it may or may not be justified.
Right.
There isn't a real fear here of letting go, because the worst thing that can happen if you let go of these baby clothes, the worst thing that can happen is someone else is going to get some value from them, and you might have to buy some used baby clothes in the future.